This short video is about data protection regulations in the United Kingdom and what they mean for you. Let's start with the basics. First of all, we need to understand what personal data actually is. Put simply, personal data is any information that can be directly or indirectly linked to a person, such as their name, their address, their date of birth or their account number. But it's more than that. Personal data also includes information relating to people's physical identity, financial status, their cultural and social identity, and their health. And then there's special category data, which includes information about people's ethnicity, religion, sexuality, political opinions or union membership. Special care should be taken when you're processing special category data. Remember, would you think it was personal data if it were information about you? There are 6 key principles of processing personal data. There's the principle of lawfulness, fairness and transparency, the principle of data minimization, the principle of storage limitation, the principle of purpose limitation, the principle of accuracy, and the principle of confidentiality and integrity. Now let's look at each principle in turn to understand them better. The principle of lawfulness, fairness and transparency means that you can only process information about people if you have a lawful reason to. The lawful reasons are, 1. Because you have to process it by law, 2. Because you need to process it in order to carry out the service you're delivering, 3. If it's in the person's vital interest, 4. If it's in the public's vital interest, 5. If there is a genuine legitimate interest that you can prove, or 6. If you have the person's consent. There's a handy trick to remembering the rules for consent. Remember FRIES. For consent to be valid, it has to be freely given, reversible, informed, explicit and specific. The principle of transparency means that you should not use information if the person doesn't know that you're using it. Certain information needs to be made clear to people before you can process the data. Have a look at your company's privacy notice to see what I mean. The principle of data minimization means that you should only take the data that you really need to take in order to deliver your service. If it feels like too much information, it probably is. The principle of storage limitation means that you should securely destroy personal data when you no longer need it. And while you have the data, access should be restricted to those who strictly need it. The principle of purpose limitation means that data should only be used for the purpose it was originally collected. You can't use the information for any other reasons, and you should keep a record of what information you process and why. The principle of accuracy means that you should ensure all the data you hold is kept up to date and accurate. People have the right to request that any information about them is corrected if it's not accurate. And the last principle, the principle of confidentiality and integrity, means that you must keep the information you're processing confidential at all times. Integrity is saying what you mean, and meaning what you say. So now that you know the principles of data protection, you should know that data subjects have certain rights. People have the right to access the information you're processing about them. It's called a Data Subject Access Request, or ADSR for short, and you usually have to reply within 30 days without charging a fee. People also have the right to manage consents and objections, which means that they can remove consent at any time as easily as they gave it, and that they can object to certain processing. You must respond to these rights. Another right that people have is the right to have any inaccurate information corrected. They can ask you to correct any information they believe is incorrect at any time, and you should make sure that the data is as accurate as possible. So now that you know the principles of data protection, and what rights people have over the data, you need to know what could happen if you get it wrong. The cost can be very high. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office is responsible for overseeing data protection in the United Kingdom. If they find that you've broken the rules, they can fine you up to £18 million, or 4% of your annual global turnover. It can be damaging to your employer's reputation, and you can be told that you can no longer process personal data. It can cause harm or distress to people, and you could lose your job. So, how can you make sure that you don't break the rules? First of all, make sure that you read all of your company's policies and procedures. Don't share any information with anyone outside your company unless you know there is a written agreement covering data protection. And report anything that doesn't feel right to your line manager or the data protection officer straight away. If the regulator or data subjects need to be told about a breach, this must happen within 72 hours. And finally, if you're not sure about anything, ask your data protection officer. It's what we're here for. Thanks for watching.